Story title: She Married Me for Security, and Forgot I Was Listening. Chapter 1. The Words I Wasn't Supposed to Hear. I wasn't supposed to be home that day. The site meeting ran shorter than expected. I didn't call ahead. I figured I'd surprise her with coffee and take out sushi, her favorite. When I opened the front door, the house was unusually quiet. No music, no TV. Just the hum of the fridge and the occasional creak of the wood floors. I was halfway through the hallway when I heard her voice. Low, a little breathless, not angry, but not the way she spoke to me either. Of course I married him for stability. What else is love supposed to get me? He's safe. Predictable. I don't have to worry about surprises. I froze. She was on the phone. I couldn't hear the other person, but I didn't need to. She kept talking. He's good to me, sure, but that doesn't mean I'm in love with him. I mean, what is love anyway? That thing fades. Comfort lasts. I stood there for several minutes, unable to move. Coffee in one hand, sushi bag in the other. The words repeated in my head like a slow drip poison. I didn't barge in. I didn't say a word. I slowly stepped backward, out of the hallway, and walked out the door without making a sound. I sat in my car, sushi steaming on the passenger seat, and felt the fabric of my reality shift. I had never considered myself a romantic. I didn't believe in grand gestures or soulmates. But I did believe in honesty, in building something quietly with trust. And she had built a life with me like it was a job application. That night I came home like usual. She smiled, kissed me, thanked me for dinner. I smiled back. And from that moment on I started listening to everything. Because love doesn't leave in flames. Sometimes it walks out silently, through an open door you forgot to close. She said I was safe, not loved. Over the next few days, I noticed more than I ever had before. Not because she changed, but because I finally understood the language she'd been speaking all along. She called me safe, like it was a compliment, but the tone was always dull. She told friends I was dependable, reliable, steady. I'd once been proud of that. Now it sounded like she was describing a mortgage payment. Every laugh at my expense in front of her friends. Every eye roll when I talked about work. I remembered all of it. I had dismissed it before. Now I cataloged it. Her phone screen always face down. Her texts were quick, fingers dancing over glass in a rhythm I no longer understood. I never asked. I just watched. She started staying late at work more often. Claimed she was helping with year-end reports. I nodded and made dinner for one. One night, she came home with a bottle of wine. Said she wanted to reconnect. She poured 2 glasses. Sat close. I kissed her gently, and she kissed me back. But her eyes were closed too tightly, and mine were wide open. Because now I understood. She didn't love me. She loved the version of herself that looked stable with me. I pretended not to know. Pretending became easier with time. I still kissed her goodbye in the mornings. I still asked about her day. I still laughed at her jokes, even when they were sharp enough to cut. But behind every smile was calculation. Behind every question, a measurement. She didn't notice I'd stopped sharing. My own stories grew shorter, more generic. I no longer spoke about dreams or long-term plans. What was the point? They weren't our dreams anymore. They were mine, and mine alone. She mentioned booking a weekend trip to Napa. We need to reconnect, she said. I nodded. Said it sounded nice. But in the back of my mind, I noted the reservation date, the name of the hotel, and quietly copied the confirmation from her inbox to my private folder. I wasn't preparing to fight. I was preparing to leave. I created a separate email account. Transferred important documents. Opened a new savings account under my name only. These weren't acts of war. They were insurance. One night, she fell asleep on the couch. Her phone lit up with a message. Next week can't come soon enough. No name. Just a number I didn't recognize. I memorized it. Then I sat down and made a spreadsheet. Dates. Times. Messages. Lies. By the end of that week, I had mapped her betrayal in cold, undeniable detail. I didn't feel rage. I felt resolved. Because sometimes the greatest revenge is knowing. And keeping quiet. Her lies became my lessons. I never asked her about the message. I didn't mention the second phone number. I just let her dig her own grave, one lie at a time. The first lesson she taught me was how people reveal themselves when they think you're not paying attention. She thought I was too dull to notice, too safe to question. I watched her behavior like a scientist. Every time she left the house in a different outfit than the one she wore to work. Every time she deleted a conversation the moment it ended. Every time she said, "I'll be late," without offering a reason. I used to fill the silence with benefit of the doubt. Now I filled it with evidence. I learned how she smiled when she texted him. Lips slightly parted, eyes unfocused. She never smiled that way at me anymore. I learned how she avoided eye contact when I asked simple questions. How she overshared when she was nervous. How she mentioned his name less and less, which somehow made it louder. I stopped reacting. I stopped offering comfort. She thought she was in control of the narrative. But I had the original draft, the edits, and the red flags she never meant for me to see. Her lies weren't just betrayals. They were instructions. And I followed them perfectly. Because when someone shows you who they really are, you have two choices. Try to fix them. Or fix your way out. I chose the latter. And I wasn't even halfway done. The financial trail she forgot to cover. She had locked her phone, cleared her messages, whispered lies into the dark. But numbers don't lie. Transactions, statements, timelines, they're clean. Honest in a way people rarely are. I started watching our finances more closely. Not because I didn't trust her. Because now I didn't trust anything. She had always been careless with spending. A dinner here, a new bag there. But now things didn't add up. Purchases from restaurants I'd never been to. Ride shares at odd hours. Boutique charges I hadn't seen in our closet. I matched times with her calendar, with her messages, with her stories. The puzzle fit too easily. A Saturday yoga class followed by a $92 charge at a hotel restaurant. A weekday client lunch and a perfume receipt, sent to an address that wasn't ours. I printed everything. Labeled folders. Built a timeline. She thought I was an engineer who only built bridges. But I was building a case. The irony? Half the accounts were joint. Half the gifts she bought for him I unknowingly helped pay for. She had underestimated me in every way. I moved some money. Just precaution. Transferred savings to a new account with just my name. Froze the emergency fund we never used. She noticed. Asked casually one night if our savings looked lighter. I told her I had moved some things into bonds. Safer. Long term. She nodded. She loved that word, safe. But I had changed what it meant. I made her think she was winning. By the time spring rolled in, I knew more about her than she probably knew about herself. Patterns, behaviors, the rhythm of her lies, they were clockwork. She'd gotten comfortable, careless. And that was exactly what I needed. She was laughing more. At ease. She even suggested we look into a vacation, Hawaii maybe. We need something to look forward to, she said. I agreed. We started planning. She researched hotels. I played along. Bookmarked flights I'd never take. Let her believe the charade was working. Because when someone thinks they fooled you, they stop hiding. And that's when they become honest. She started leaving her phone face up again. Took more risks. I caught a glimpse of a conversation once. He sent her a heart. She sent back a wink. I didn't react. Just tucked it into my mental folder. Every time she thought she'd won, canceled plans, excuses that I didn't challenge, I made sure to reward her with warmth. She interpreted it as detachment turning into trust again. It was actually calculation. I cooked more. Held her more. Whispered good things into her ear. She whispered back. I feel like we're finally getting better. I kissed her forehead. And marked the date in my journal. Because the only thing getting better was my exit strategy. She thought she had me wrapped in comfort. But I was folding her story into an ending she would never see coming. My lawyer had a folder named Freedom. I met with the lawyer on a rainy Tuesday morning. Her office was downtown, tucked between a dental clinic and a bookstore. Clean, sharp, quiet, just like her. I told her everything. Not with bitterness but with precision. She nodded a lot. Took notes. Never once looked surprised. You've been preparing, she said. For months. She handed me a thick manila folder. On the tab, a label in clean, typed font. More Freedom Plan. I stared at it for a moment before tucking it under my arm. We discussed accounts, assets, property. I learned about things I never thought I'd need to know: how to separate joint checking, what to do if she contests the split, what proof mattered in a no-fault state. Proof I already had. Every screenshot, every timestamp, every transaction, organized by category, backed up on 2 drives, printed in triplicate. I didn't just want to walk away clean. I wanted to walk away whole. When I got home, she was on the couch watching a romantic drama. She patted the cushion beside her. Movie night. Iset. Watched her cry at a scene where the couple reconciled. The irony didn't sting. It just confirmed what I already knew. She wanted love that looked like forgiveness, not one that respected boundaries. I kissed her goodnight and went to my office, opened the folder, and began writing the final chapter of a marriage that ended the day she called me safe. Because I wasn't safe anymore. I was prepared. The night I didn't come home, I told her I had a late meeting. She smiled and said, "Don't work too hard." I didn't bring an overnight bag. I didn't need one. The hotel room was already booked under an alias. Nothing extravagant, just clean, quiet, and far enough away to feel like it wasn't my life anymore. I ordered takeout, ate alone while watching the city from the 12th floor. I turned off my phone, just for a few hours. Not to disappear, just to breathe. Meanwhile, she probably poured herself a glass of wine, settled into the couch, maybe called him. Maybe she smiled while she whispered into the dark. I didn't care. That night, I fell asleep without wondering where she was, without listening for her footsteps, without bracing for the next lie. In the morning, I turned my phone back on. 22 missed calls, 3 voicemails, a series of texts that started casual and grew frantic. "Are you okay? Where are you? I'm starting to get worried." She found my letter, not me. It was a Wednesday. I left the envelope on the kitchen table. Plain white, no name. Just the words. "For when it matters." Inside a letter. Short. Sharp. Honest. I wrote it the night before. Typed, printed, signed.
No emotion.
Just truth. I know. I've known for a while. I didn't ask because I didn't need to. You weren't mine anymore even when you smiled. This house, this life, it's yours now. But I won't be. I didn't pack loudly. I didn't take everything. Just what was mine. My documents. My keys. Few clothes. My dignity. I left while she was at work. I imagined her finding it. Standing there barefoot, reading words she never thought I'd say. Maybe she'd cry. Maybe she'd call me. I turned off my phone. There was nothing else to say. I checked into a new apartment. It was small. Quiet. Mine. That night I slept without fear. Without doubt. Without her lies wrapped around my chest like chains. Maybe she read the letter twice. Maybe she showed it to him. Maybe she burned it. But she couldn't unread it. Because I didn't leave to hurt her. I left because I remembered how peace feels. And I wasn't willing to forget it again. I let her keep the house. I took my peace. She called once. Just once. A week after the letter, my phone buzzed. I let it ring. Watched the screen until it dimmed. No voicemail. No follow-up. I imagined her walking through the house, touching the walls like they could explain what had happened. She probably looked at the empty closet, the bare spot where my keys used to hang. She still had the mortgage, the furniture, the dog. She still had our friends, at least the ones who didn't ask questions. But what she didn't have was me. And that was the difference. I didn't leave to make a point. I left because staying had become an insult to who I used to be. To the man who gave everything in silence and got used like a warranty plan. Some nights I walk by the river and breathe in the air without thinking about whether she's wondering where I am. I don't need closure. I don't need revenge. I have peace. I left without shouting. Without slamming doors. Without drama. I let her keep the house. But I took back every part of me she thought would stay quiet forever. And that was worth more than anything in our shared account.